This is Matt Donnelly here at TheWrap South by Southwest 2017 interview studio at the Plexus Lodge in Austin, Texas. We're thrilled to welcome the director and producer of HBO's Mommy, Dead, and Dearest. We have director Erin Lee Carr, producer Andrew Rossi. Welcome, you guys. I understand you just had a packed premiere screening. Went very well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, where to begin with this incredibly complex, very American, I think, story about family and murder and social media and just all this stuff. If you just want to sort of like help us get into just the events and how you came to it.
So this is it's sort of a murder mystery that took place in the Ozarks, and it's about a young woman named Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who for the most of her life lived in a wheelchair. And because she needed it, because she had muscular dystrophy, and she didn't go to school. All she did was sort of sit at home and watch Disney films. And it turns out something really dark and evil was happening in that house. And our film explores what happened inside that house from Gypsy's perspective, but also from the people, from her family members. And it's been a pleasure to premiere in Austin. We literally just did it, and it's been thrilling, but it's also like a very sort of serious, dark film.
The event that kicks off the entire history of Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose is her murder, correct? And Facebook was sort of crucial in tipping off investigators to what had happened. Can you sort of just like tell us just about this insane?
It's interesting because we made the film for HBO. Sarah Bernstein is our supervising producer there, and Sheila Nevins, who runs HBO documentaries, was really interested in the sort of collision of the true crime genre, which is so interesting, and also sort of online stories. And Erin really is, I think, a master at telling stories in the internet space. And so the story kicked off, really, it became known when Gypsy Rose made a Facebook post that said some very horrible things, which I might not, I don't know if they can.
It's okay, we'll bleep it out.
Okay. The bitch is dead, basically about her mother, pretending to be the murderer of Dee Dee, but in fact going through some sort of strange pathological projection and trying to pretend to be another person. And of course, the movie is all about how during her entire life she had to play a different character. So it all kicks off with a Facebook post.
I mean, it's about why we confess things online. It's the everyday sort of pedantic motion, and it's something really that just happened. Our lives take place online. And I spoke to her in prison numerous times, and her rationale was, I wanted people to find my mom's body, but that is that's a wild way to do that. I think that there's a lot of complexities with her and like sort of her motivations, and someday it might exist this reason, the next day it'll be something different. But that's what I think about on a daily basis is she did not grow up in my reality. She grew up in a completely different reality. So for me to place judgment on actions, I have to be really careful about that. She did not get the benefit that I had living in this society. She was trapped in a house for, so many years of her life.
That's incredibly empathetic, and Munchausen's by proxy is a big component of this film too. I'm curious if you had any preconceived notions about it going in, and after spending all this time and sort of following the story, how you feel about it coming out.
I wasn't sure. I thought that maybe like Munchausen by proxy was potentially sort of a made up syndrome, people needing attention. I do not feel that way now. I do not feel that way. I have seen the evidence of it. She would shave Gypsy's head to make it look like she had cancer. Gypsy had her teeth falling out because she had to take Tegretol, which is epilepsy medicine. This is not, put her in, take a couple of pictures of her in the wheelchair. Yeah. It's like, no, she's literally sick. Let's make her sick.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what's really fascinating about the film is that there is not some sort of moral judgment. There's a recognition of the crime that occurred, the abuse that took place, and the depth of that. But on the other hand, there's, I think Erin lets the characters speak for themselves. And so you have these really incredible sort of Southern Gothic portraits of Gypsy's grandparents who live in Louisiana, and her father, and everyone sort of is this village. We talk about sort of it takes a village to raise a child. It also, in a way, takes a village to lead to this level of failure in in someone being brought up, and that extends to the administrative organizations, the hospital system, social services, and it's just a sort of devastating accumulation of all these things.
Going through some of the notes, I think there was only one or two. Well, I think a neurologist was one of the primary people, and you have unprecedented access, I understand, to family and to this community. But when someone who's respected as a neurologist is saying, "Oh my God, there are red flags everywhere," like what is that? Is it denial? Is it sort of wanting to buy into a sort of sympathetic victim, damsel in distress sort of thing? Why you wouldn't give further investigation, especially in this country where children are just so sacred and used as platforms for other issues?
I mean, that's a really great question. I think that when anybody happens upon this story, one of the first questions is, how could this have happened, and what happened with the doctors? And I really grappled with that question, and I think that I spoke to numerous doctors. One would go on the record. They were very, very edgy about saying anything on the record, but he said, we have to believe when people say that someone is sick. We are physicians. We are treating people. We are believing they're acting in good faith. And so for when Gypsy was adopted by this system, this hospital system in St. John's, and like what I have to say is like, Dee Dee was really good at what she was doing. Yeah. Like, this is not like, she's going to tell a couple of people this. She had detailed notes about how to keep the con going. I mean, she was a con woman. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I think this is as close to a portrait of pure evil you've seen in a mother that I can think of.
Which is a taboo in filmmaking, by the way.
Is it?
That's
Well,
right.
maybe not documentary, but
Well, it's interesting because it really does. It's taking on sort of violence towards a child. But what sort of recovers it from really a sadness is that Gypsy is there in the film, and she can speak for herself. And she says that it is, I believe, basically worth it for her to have gone through this experience and be free now, even in prison, to be free from the abuse of her mom.
So you said you have spoken to her, and I understand that she will be released when she's 32 years old from prison. Does she feel represented? Is she excited? Because that's a decent age she can still have a decent life, you know what I mean, coming out of that.
So Christy and Rod, who we were able to show the film to last night, they are Gypsy's father and stepmother, respectively. And, they immediately talked to Gypsy right after. They have a close relationship. They're very much keeping an emotional sort of attachment with each other. That's what she needs. For her whole life, she was sort of abandoned and not looked after, or looked after too much by her mother. So she has a really great relationship with them. And I think she is really excited that that when she's going to get out, she'll have life, and she'll have a life, and she'll be able to be free in a certain respect that she never was when she was when she was a kid and when she was growing up.
Sure. Hopefully, get some of that experience, like you said, that you were afforded. Do you have a premiere date for HBO?
Yes, it's the day after Mother's Day. So
how lovely. The day after Mother's Day. Well, congratulations. It's a wonderful film, and we really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.